Day everyone. I am Rundato Nasida and this is the topic that assigned to me. Explicit instructions composing skills. Okay, so we have here our objectives. First is explain what is explicit instructions and also to understand a sequence that supports explicit instructions and explain the characteristics of an explicit instructions. Okay, so what is an explicit instruction? So yes, it is an instructions, but specifically what is inside or what is these explicit instructions? Okay, so we have here the definitions. It is a systematic method of teaching which emphasizes on proceeding in small steps, checking for a student's understanding and achieving active and successful participation by all the students. Okay, so explicit instructions is, in other words, it is some specific strategies to support to become more explicit in instructions. In short, it is a strategies that supports us as a teacher, or this is strategies that giving instructions in kumbaga, a very clear instructions, or the purpose is for the students to participate, to make everyone participate. So in giving instructions or giving explicit instructions, the purpose of a teacher is to to make sure that everyone is participant, and of course to give a crystal instruction to all the students. Explicit instructions is also a way of a way of teaching in a direct structured way. So kumbaga, it is a direct instructions, a step-by-step instructions to have a clear instructions to give a clear instructions to your students. Okay, so in explicit instructions, it shows a plenty of examples when you're using these instructions for to give clearly and explain more the instructions. Okay, so that's the explicit instruction. So to understand and achieve the active participation of the students. So that's the main purpose of this. Okay, so what does high quality instructions during the class discussion? So ano nga ba yung highlight instructions to gain the participant of the students? Okay, so we have here the think, write, perform, and share. Okay, so think, let the student think, or you as a teacher think of how to make the attention of the students. And write, let your students write what they have learned, such as or let them reflect of what they have learned, and then perform what you have learned, and of course to transfer the knowledge or to share the knowledge. So you need to perform for you able to transfer the knowledge in appropriate. Okay, so explicit instructions are systematic, direct, engaging, succeed, and oriented. So these are some words that explain explicit instructions. So systematic, like what I've said earlier, it is an arrange or a step-by-steps or organized instructions for the students. So that's the explicit instructions. It is really a systematic. And also it is a direct. So like what I've said earlier also, that it is a direct structured way of teaching. Engaging, since engage the students, you really need to catch the attention of the students and make sure that everyone is participating. Succeed oriented, so this explicit instruction is, as a teacher, is from the start, middle, up to the succeed, is you are guiding your students. So that is why it is really a systematic. Okay, so we have here explicit instructions is a sequence of supports. So explicit instruction is these strategies is more on a support or a focus on supporting your students. We have here the setting the stage of for learning, explaining, modeling, and guiding a little or a lot. Setting the stage for learning. So, from the word itself, you are setting the stage means you are, kumbaga, ikaw yung mangunguna as a teacher. So, you are the one who start or guide the students to participate, to learn or to instruct them what to do to create or to positively participate in a given task. Explaining, telling students what to do. Of course, as a teacher, you should really give your instructions clearly. So, para hindi nalilito yung mga students. So, number 3 is modeling. So, modeling is can also be demonstrating. So, as much as possible, it can also show more example or demonstrate the instruction for them to understand more. Guiding a little or a lot. So, you're always here as a teacher to guide the students. So, there are some students you can guide a little since makuan yung IQ or nakakagets agad ng instructions, but you need to consider also those students na minsan mahirap maka-catch up ng instructions. So, you always guide a little or a lot to your students. Okay, so we have here the instructional delivery component. So, these are 5. So, this is the way of how you're going to transfer the knowledge, or how would you going to instruct, or how would you deliver the instructions that you have. Okay, so we will tackle those 5. The first one here is require a frequent student's responses. Okay, so when a student is actively participant in their learning, they achieve a greater success. So, of course, di ba, pag nakikita natin na lahat nagpa-participate yung mga student natin, meaning, naiintindihan nila yung ating topic at mas nakakapag-share or nakakapagpasahan tayo ng knowledge, which is, of course, there are some knowledge that we don't know, but our students know, and also, a student don't know, but we know. So, passing knowledge is really important. So, para mas a great chance para na-achieve natin yung success. Okay, so the teacher must elicit students' response several times. So, like what I've said, elicit instructions is the main purpose or the most purpose is to let the student or most of the student participate in the class. So, you as a student should elicit or examine the student's response several times. So, it is really required the student response. Okay, so upward instructional pacing. So first, pacing is the rate of instructional presentations and response solicitation. So the pace of instruction is influenced by many variables such as task complexity or difficulty, relative newness of the task, and individual students. When a task are presented at a brisk pace, there are benefits to instructions and accomplish. So this is pacing means the rating of instructional presentation. So you're going to rate the instructional planning. So in this way, in this appropriate, you should learn this appropriate instructional pacing. It has benefits in which students provided with more informations, of course, and also students are engaged in instructional activities. So in that way, mas nakakapag-engage yung mga students. Okay, so provide adequate processing time. So time is also important. Think time is the amount of the time between the moment of a task presented and when the learner asks to respond. So, you as a teacher dapat may specific time ka dun sa task mismo for example, 20 minutes and then 5 minutes for the question and answers or the asking for the instruction if nalilito sila. Time to pause and think should vary based on the difficulty of the task relative to task. So, ang time, provide adequate processing time is nakadepende yan kung gaano kahirap yung task na ibibigay mo or kung gaano kahaba yung task na ibibigay mo. Of course, you should provide an adequate or enough time to them. So, that's the provide adequate processing time. Monitor responses. So, again and again, nandito naman tayo sa response. So, it is really important that ma-monitor mo yung kada response ng student mo. This is an essential teacher skills to ensure that all learners are mastering the skills the teacher is presenting. So, of course, in that way, may evaluate mo kung gaano sila natututo to masters what you have teach. Watching and listening to students' response provide the teacher with key instructional information. Of course, so pag narinig yung mga response nila or mga needs nila, mas magkakaroon ka ng instructional information. Provide feedback for correct and incorrect responses. Of course, response of the students is not all the time correct. So, you as a teacher, kailangan mo i-correct yung mga, for example, nag-response ng mali yung student, then you should provide the correct answers but in a good way na hindi sila ma-insulto. Kumbaga, itatama mo sila in a good way. Receive immediate feedback to both correct and incorrect response. For example, kung correct yung sagot nila, dapat ma-response mo din sila na they are correct para naintindihan nila kung saan sila, which is kung saan sila natama or also asan sila kakamali. In that way, mako-correct nila yung mali na. In that way also, they would learn yung mga na mali nila. So, we should provide feedback for the correct and incorrect response of our students. Okay, so we have here also is the, let's proceed with this. Explicit instruction is characterized by intentional teaching of well-defined skills or strategies that are broken down and taught directly in a series of carefully sequenced steps. Okay, so intentional teaching means it is intentionally you're going to carefully sequence those steps of instructions. And number 2 is the clean and consistent teacher wording, clear and consistent teacher instruction. So, giving instructions clearly and consistent. Kumbaga, yung instructions mo, yun na yun. Kumbaga, hindi pa iba-iba. Kasi kung pa iba-iba, mas malilito yung mga student natin. Extensive teacher modeling or demonstration skills and strategies before students are asked to perform them independently. Of course, so you as a teacher, kailangan mo muna, for example, you are planning to give them performance independently. So, kailangan mo munang ma-show sa kanila o ma-demonstrate sa kanila yung kanilang gagawin bago mo sila i-allow na i-perform yun. Kasi, paano nila ma-perform kung hindi nila nakita kung paano gawin? Okay, so think aloud procedure that draw attention to the step-by-step process of applying skills and strategies that is eventually internalized during proficient reading. Okay, so you should thinking aloud. This is a procedure that kailangan mong draw yung attentions ng step-by-step process. So, kailangan mo talagang pag-isipan or ma-apply ng maayos yung step-by-step process sa mga students. So, in that way, it is eventually internalized during the proficient of reading. Okay, so I think that would be all. So thank you so much for listening. So once again, in this presentation, we've learned explicit instructions. So in short, explicit instructions is kumbaga a very detailed giving an instruction to your students. So it is a systematic, direct, engaging, and succeed. You're always involved. You're always engaged, and of course, the main purpose is to make sure that everyone is participating in the class. Okay, so that will be all. Thank you so much for watching.